peer support is an extension of love.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is only love that we get. And that is valuable. And yet, when we train, and when we learn that we can use this horrible thing that happened to us, and it can become the best thing, like the speaker before me talked about, those 35 years of misery, that lived experience is what she now draws from. So yes, we do that, and we become experts at not being the experts. Let me tell you, if I have the choice of peer support and practicing medicine, I'm choosing peer support. And the reason I'm choosing peer support is because of what I learned. I got personally so much more satisfaction out of seeing that light bulb go off in that person when they realized they could recover. You know, when I said, hey, 5 years ago I was exactly where you are, and this is what helped me. And they looked at me and they said, no. Yeah. And I said, yeah. And you get so much more than what you give. And you see that change, and that person changes on the inside, and then they have that, and no one can take that away. So much more satisfying, but again, I digress. So we were talking about the future. So I see the private sector reimbursing for peer support with insurance, which is also leading to, getting paid better. Really, what I see is individuals recovering, people doing well, people doing better, as they define doing better. It's not for me to say what's doing better for you. You define that for you. I see no more stigma. You know, they say that it's, if you're a celebrity or if you're a performer, it's almost a badge of honor to have a substance abuse history, but there's still stigma in having a mental health history. Well, I see no more stigma in having a mental health history. That's part of the future that I see. Okay, so some logistical things. I see one certification for peer support that's accepted nationwide.
Yeah.
Because I see peer education as progressive. In other words, we learn basic peer support, but then we can learn more. We can learn advanced peer support, we can learn different specialties of peer support, we can learn how to practice not being an expert, which takes a lot of expertise in all the different ways. Because you know that, right? We are experts at not being the experts. And that takes a lot of expertise. You know, as human beings, I don't know, we have this tendency, we want to think we know, we want to think we can fix, we want to think we can solve. We want to say, if you do what I did, you'll be fine, just do this. Well, you know, another word for that is pride, and another word for that is it doesn't work. Because every individual has to find their way, and we know to say, and to ask, and to listen, and to be there for people regardless, which at the end of the day is so much more powerful than a prescription for a certain action. In other words, I'm with you regardless. I'm here with you. Yes, I've experienced some of the things you've experienced, but you're not alone. I am here with you while you go through. I see peer-run organizations being the norm, not the exception. I think it would be great if the entire country had consumer networks as powerful and dynamic as Georgia does. I see treatment instead of jail and prison. I see peer specialists on every clinical team, on every medical team. I see peer specialists working in medical settings, not just research. workshop afterwards, we can explore this a little bit more. I'd like to know what you see. So, not a whole lot of time. The original talk that had Sherry invite me to see you related to the power of the person in recovery and how we could look at healthcare in a different way so that the desired outcome of a person coming for assistance would be that that person is empowered to live their life and make the lifestyle changes they need to make so that they are well beyond the system. And it made me think about power, and I'm a very visual person. And so when we get together as in a rugby team, we have power, but as individuals, we also have power. There's power in the environment. Now, I remember a time when I personally didn't have power, but I would go to a group and I would learn and I would take, and that energy came, and I remind myself by being around people. And sometimes when we are low, the environment can give us power. And then, of course, there's the peer power, what comes from the mutuality and the lived experience. And these are just images. Oh, wow, that's interesting. You know, sometimes when people talk to each other, we don't communicate well. Sometimes when computers talk to each other, they don't communicate well either. So, you know, plug into your network of support. Because if we're trying to operate just as individuals, our batteries run low and we need to recharge them. Peer support is on the cutting edge. It's on the cutting edge of a lot of things, not just behavioral health treatment. And so going back to the power shift that we talked about at the beginning, we don't have to remain in a power struggle with ourselves, with our families, with our systems. It doesn't have to be us versus them. It can be us and them.
All right.
We can learn that there really is not so much us versus them, because us is them and them is us.
Right.
But I don't know if we're going to get there or not. So, speaking about power again, I'm sure we're familiar with that, with the whole vision of our illnesses as dragons that need to be slain and overcome over and over and over again. And that is only partially so, but I still think it is a good visual of the fact that there is ongoing work required in recovery. Many of us have had many moments of insight, moments of brilliance, interactions that have changed our lives. And then there's the work that has to be done to keep it up. Amen? Amen. It doesn't happen once and you're done, does it? And after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, if there aren't some things that you're doing every day, if you're not paying attention to your recovery, it's very easy for it to slip. I would like for us as peers to be engaged in pursuing recovery and wellness, armed with information, resources, tools, and coping skills. And as individuals, to obtain the support necessary to live life to the fullest, even beyond the confines of the healthcare system. So, I wrote some of the things I thought about in the future. You may have some things to add to that. I see 3 aspects that come into play when we talk about creating this future that we want to see. First, there's the individual aspect. I call it me, myself, and I. No change happens until I change. I'm going to say that again. Actually, my condition internally is the most important determinant of any change that I want to see in any environment that I'm in. My internal condition, how I am on the inside, how well I am, how healthy I am, how powerful I feel, how loved I am, how much energy I spend tending to others, how well and graciously I allow others to tend to me. Each one of us individually is supremely powerful. And if we want change, we have to be that internally first. So I call it me, myself, and I. Number 2 is our peer world, what we do together. So our training, how we interact with each other. I have a little anecdote. Whenever I start feeling really confident and comfortable and accomplished in my own self, something happens to remind me that I'm in an earth suit like everybody else. Wow. Okay. That means my time is up. So yesterday I was meeting Sherry and some other people for dinner, and I was walking over here, and I got a phone call, and I thought to myself, I don't want my phone ringing during dinner, so I better turn the volume off. But a little password thing came on, so I had to do my shape on the phone. So I'm walking, and I'm distracted by the phone. And I remember thinking, I better turn the volume down, and then, oh, let me do my pattern. And the next thing I knew, I was flat on the floor. I don't know what happened, but I fell. It was in front of one of the buildings here. And Sherry knows me, Larry knows me. I think those are the 2 people that I knew before I came here today. I didn't know anyone else. There were some people sitting in front of the building. The moment I went down, there were 6 people there. 2 other people that were walking by. Everybody came over. It wasn't, oh my gosh, I just felt, what will I do? It was reacting to the help. The help was there without question. There was no hesitation. There was no thinking about it. The help was just there. It was a minor fall. Nothing was broken. Nothing was twisted. I could have been just fine to get up on my own, but I didn't have to. People surrounded me. They got me up. Somebody had one arm, the other person had the other arm. I had the strength to get up on my own power, but it's not just not fun, but it's kind of embarrassing. So complete strangers came to the aid of a complete stranger. One person lifted one arm, the other lifted another arm. They got me up. And then I went on my way. If that isn't a demonstration of peer support, I don't know what is. So I talked about 3 steps. I talked about me, myself, and I talked about our peer world. And then the 3rd one is our system. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward to the system part because our time is short. What did I think I was doing with all these slides? Please be careful out there not to get stuck in dichotomies. Yeah, big word. It means one extreme or another. Like, we want to keep our grassroots because we don't want to get co-opted. Now, there is such a thing as grassroots, and there is such a thing as co-opted. I'm not saying those things are not there. I'm just saying, don't just so easily get stuck in the extremes and thinking you have to be one or the other, because life isn't like that. Oppressed versus oppressor. How many of us have seen how quickly those of us who are oppressed become oppressors of others? Yeah. So, we want to blame the man. Just be sure you're not being the man to somebody else. Right? and then us versus them. The professionals versus the peers. or the politicians versus the people. Let's just be careful with that. Integrated health is what everybody talks about. I couldn't be up here and not mention that. Health is holistic. Our earth suits have brain, have bodies. It's all one thing. Yes. But is there a role for a peer in integrated health? Duh. It's not hard for us as peers to sit down with somebody who's been diagnosed with cancer or diabetes and say, you know, when I had a challenge, this worked for me, but tell me what is happening with you. And do you think that if someone needs to make a change in their life because of arthritis, that is really that different than a change in your life because of schizophrenia? You really think it's all that different? I don't think it is. And I don't think that for us as peers, there's a difficulty making that transition. I think for the rest of the system, they may have a little bit of time adjusting. But I really don't think that we would. And I would encourage you to consider that. Consider whether your skill, your learned experience, your ability to not be the expert can't help people outside of our behavioral health ghetto. It's not a big shift for us to make. Think about the shift that we had to make to get where we are today. To go from there to extending the value and offering our value to the entire healthcare community is not that big of a step. At least, I don't think it is. They may not see it, but we know the value of what we have to offer. And I think that it's a shift that's actually small and that we can easily make. Hey, if I used to believe that I was so sick that I couldn't work or have a relationship or raise my child, and I learned that wasn't true and I could, and I've done it, and I'm doing it every day, to go from there to, oh, and do you think that what you have to offer can help someone beyond your particular challenge? Yeah, I can. So, oops. I wish that 30 minutes was longer. I want to thank you for your attention. I want to thank you for your hospitality. I want to thank you for living your recovery and being the beacon to the rest of the United States and the rest of the world. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jana Spalding. I've recently launched a business entitled Set Up for Success. Many times people who face psychiatric challenges are given opportunities that don't support them. And many times there's such a fear that I'm afraid people are set up to fail. I'd like to do something about that, and so I've launched a consulting, training, and also translating and interpreting business. If I can help you or your organization create recovery, support your peer supporters, or learn more about the ways of recovery, please give me a call. You can reach me at 505-274-6577, or you can email me at jana@setupforsuccess.org. That's setup, the number 4, success.org. Thank you very much. I want to thank the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network for giving me this opportunity to share this information with you, and for the wonderful work they've done at the 2014 conference entitled The Year of the Peer. Thank you very much.